Welcome back to the Vibrant Soulful Wellness Podcast. This is your podcast for ideas, practices, and strategies for living and working more vibrantly and soulfully. And I'm your host, Annie Barrett, and I'm glad you're here. In this episode, I'm sharing with you a recording of a wisdom talk that I did several years ago on predictability and boundaries in autumn. It's fall where I am. The days are getting chillier. I've been harvesting the apples and quince off my trees, and we can see from the natural world that there's transition happening. I love how Ayurveda offers such a wonderful lens from which to understand the season of autumn. So we've been talking about how in autumn, Ayurveda calls autumn a Vata season because autumn is dominated by the elements of air and space. And so the qualities of autumn are dry, rough, windy, erratic, cool, subtle, and clear. These are the qualities that Ayurveda names for this Vata season. And to see this in nature and in our own lives, we can think of dry leaves, even dry skin, windy weather, erratic schedules, cool mornings, and clear nights. And because this season is dynamic and moving and changeable, there is this sense of new possibility and potential. And at the same time, these same qualities of dynamism and variability can leave us sometimes feeling overwhelmed or depleted. So Ayurveda recommends focusing on qualities that balance Vata. These are the qualities of inviting groundedness, nourishment, warmth, predictability, and boundaries. I want to talk today particularly about predictability and boundaries. Ease happens in the body-mind when life is predictable. Not everything needs to be predictable, but enough of life should be predictable that there's this felt sense of rhythm to the day. When we rise, when we move, when we eat, hydrate, have fun, sleep, it's nice when this is predictable, when we can create daily routines, especially for the beginning of the day and the end of the day. This rhythm settles our nervous system and it optimizes our metabolism and digestion, and it leaves space for the middle of the day to be whatever it is. So to create predictability in modern life, most of us will find that you need to use a calendar. And in my own calendar, I enter in my time for my daily routines, my work time for going to appointments, taking my kids to their school and their appointments. And I just book in time block the things that I need, that I need to have happen every day or every week. And when I do that, I can feel more easeful. In particular, I like to look at the beginning of the day and the end of the day as two blocks of time that I set aside for a predictable self-care routine. And I would invite you to do the same and consider what you would do. Perhaps it's your yoga practice, your meditation practice, enjoying time with friends or family, a cup of tea, whatever it is. But to really make some predictability in your life, to create some predictability in your life. And in order for predictability to happen, put it in your calendar, but we also have to set in boundaries. So predictability and boundaries are the two themes that I'm working with today. That you have to set boundaries and hold yourself accountable for what you put on your calendar, for getting up when your alarm says to get up, for taking a break from work when you said you would take a break, for sitting down and eating on a regular schedule, and setting boundaries for getting off your devices at night so that you can wind down and get a good night's sleep. And I find, if I don't enforce these boundaries, I'll sleep in. Maybe I won't show up to do my morning meditation or yoga practice. I might forget to sit down to eat my lunch, and I might end up being on the screen too late. And then you go to bed too late, and you don't sleep as long or as deeply as you need. And then the next day, you're not waking up with your cup full. So in this season, my own learning is to really stick to a schedule, to create a schedule for myself, put it in my calendar and do what my calendar says I will do. And if it doesn't happen, then I have to pause and reflect, why didn't that happen? Maybe there was a spontaneous invitation that I couldn't pass up, and maybe that was fine. Or maybe it just didn't happen because I didn't hold myself accountable, and the end result wasn't good. So it's fine to be spontaneous once in a while, but to really stay healthy in the Vata autumn season, we really need to pay attention to rhythm and routine and stick to schedules. Honor our fatigue, honor our need for nourishment, honor our need for movement, and get that in your calendar and stay accountable to that. I find that when I adhere to healthy boundaries, my life feels so much more grounded and easeful, and I'm much less likely to overcommit myself to people or projects because I'm protecting my time that I put in my schedule that's set aside for what I need, for the daily routines that I need, for movement, relaxation, friends, and families. All right, so I just shared with you that clip about creating predictability and boundaries in autumn. And that's a recording that I did several years ago, and yet I came back to it this year in 2025 because the lessons about predictability and boundaries come back to me every year at this time. And so as you think about creating predictability and boundaries in your life, I invite you to take on this inquiry. Where in your life can you create a more predictable routine? Perhaps it's for getting up in the morning, rising, moving, eating, working, hydrating, and sleeping. How can you create a predictable routine for these things that you do every day, knowing that that predictability will invite ease and steadiness in your life? And the second inquiry is, where can you firm up the boundaries in your life to make sure that you are prioritizing what is most important to you? And with that, I'll leave you. Thank you for coming back and listening to the Vibrant Soulful Wellness Podcast. If you like this episode and you'd like to hear more, please subscribe to this podcast on Spotify. And you can also head over to www.vibrantsoulful.com, where you can join my weekly newsletter, get links to these episodes, and enjoy lots of other wellness resources. Thanks for tuning in.